listening to the sounds of Chat with the Coach, brought to you in part by SIBN Television and Radio Networks. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, SoundCloud, anywhere SIBN Television and Radio is found.
Thank you for joining us again for the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio. My name is Marcus Salette, aka the Coach, and assuredly the Coach's Corner is raw and rare, bringing you your motivational, inspirational, and spiritual insights and wisdoms of life. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's cheering you on to the finish line of life? Well, I hope that we could have that honor as we inspire to encourage you. Approaching this microphone today, we bring to you our own challenges, personally and professionally, but we trust with the wisdoms of the matter being discussed, we can earn the right to speak into your life. Are you ready to get to work? Let's do it. Hey, what's going on with everybody? Thank you so much for joining us right here on the Coach's Corner. Brief, jumping in the fray real quick. Want to encourage you. Thank you so much for those of you that have been watching us on and listening on the various platforms where we broadcast. We're attempting to just continue to perfect the craft. Of course, many of you know all about that. We don't talk about it, we just be about it. But listen, on the screen right there, you'll see follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. You can even send questions on Twitter or to our email so that we can connect with you and help you through some of the blockages that may be in your journey. Now, as I said on the last show, we are attempting to free flow through this particular series. We're not necessarily we're having a discussion, and so there is no planned notes, there's nothing planned to say, just a focused topic with at least 3 points, of which I'll get into in just a moment, as well as hopefully from you some interaction. What do you think? What are your thoughts on points 1, 2, and 3, or some of the wisdoms that are being shared? What is your feedback? So that we can have a dialogue. This is not a monologue. Intentionally, it's not meant to be a monologue. We want you to interact, leave comments right there under the video. But suffice it is to say, I certainly need your help. I need your help. I need your help to follow me on Twitter. I need you to email me any challenges that you may be facing, you want to talk about on the air. Make sure you put that in your email. If you want to talk about it personally, we can do that as well. I'm open also to doing workshops, particularly with those of you that are stuck in transition. I have found that if we were willing as a society, if we're willing, and we see this with the millennials, how they produce, how their weekly production schedules come together more in groups and more around a community of professionals. I have found that we would have more resources, more momentum, more success, more enjoyment. Success is important, but enjoying the journey is more important, because you may arrive at success and then it's not what it's going to be. It's not going to be what you imagine. So if you didn't enjoy the journey, guess what? Now you're empty. You get to the place of success and you're empty because we didn't enjoy the journey. And we've got to enjoy the journey. That's why I want you to follow me on Twitter. That's why I want you to share with me, because it helps me not just disseminate the wisdoms of the matter, but it helps me to enjoy and to look at another aspect of it, or to engage a question or someone that may have a challenge, so that we can all come alive. But I think that part of what's missing in our culture is a collectivism of togetherness, where we can move each other forward by default. The human race was designed to do that. And I want to encourage you to do that. So that's right. You got the Twitter there. You got the email there. And please don't forget to follow us right there on YouTube. The YouTube channel is right there on your screen. Let's go ahead on and get to work. Today, I want to talk to you again about knowing what you're thinking. We talked about on the last show our thought traffic. I just want to go back over that for just a little bit. Our thought traffic. And as I was driving on yesterday, and by the time you're seeing this on demand, it would have been the day of, whatever day that falls on. As I was driving, I was thinking to share with you my thoughts on more so on thought traffic. Thought traffic is the lanes, roads, avenues, courts that our thoughts travel through. And we have millions of thoughts in the course of a day, I would imagine. Some are on autopilot, some are not on autopilot. Some are intentional and some are unintentional, but are disseminated from our being nevertheless. Listen, again, we have roads, avenues, courts, freeways, however you want to design it using the traffic model of thought processes where we're thinking on autopilot or subconsciously, or we're thinking intentionally. The good news about today's word is that I remember, I can't remember his name right now, but I remember a great teacher said that most people don't realize that what you're thinking is not all your fault. I need some help. What you're thinking is not all your fault, number one. Number two, what you're thinking is not all your thoughts. As we are realizing more and more, even in the Christian community, that we are full of energy, we're full of power, we're magnetic, we're connected, despite class, social status. We are our brother's keeper, as it were. We're finding that we have shared spaces, shared energy environments. For instance, we feel that we're desensitized in our society, but still, to the degree that we are human, we still become sad when we hear sad news. We become glad when we hear glad news. We celebrate folks that are going to the Super Bowl and we have no stake in it, unless we're gambling or something. They're not paying us to cheer. We have that camaraderie, that connection. So if we do that, then that also concludes scientifically, psychologically, and beyond, that it is possible for you to be in an environment or have been conditioned in an environment to the place where you pick up the thoughts in the room. You pick up the thoughts in that environment. You pick up the thoughts in the place where you dwelt. You picked up the thoughts in the places where you hung out. You picked up the thoughts in the places where you frequent. And you pick up those thoughts, but they don't become yours until you utter them or until you mutter them. Explain what I mean. Mutter means to mull over or to meditate or to think quietly, silently about without any audible words. So there are two challenges to the highways and byways of our thinking. As I'll say it again, one is the exposure of the collateral, that's not the word I want, collective human experience. If you were sitting in court today, you would have thoughts related to things legal. If you spent most of your time in restaurants, you would have more related thoughts to food. I need some help. If you spent most time in church, you would have more thoughts related to religion or spiritual things, perhaps. If you spent more time in the whorehouse, you're going to have more thoughts related to what's done in the whorehouse: sex, drugs, lying, cheating, whatever you want to call it. If you spend more time in college, if your environment is spent in college, you're going to have that. So now when we talk about cross-associated thoughts, while you're in that college experience, there's going to be a picking up of those energetic, I'm going to use that word for now, energetic thought processes among your crowds and your entourage and your group that will connect with your past. I need some help. There's going to be some trans-energetic thought processes and intersecting bypasses and highways from the sect, the people, the entourage that you're running with that will now filter in by default of association. I need some help right there. By default of association, they will filter into your space. They will filter into your space. You know, the old saying used to be that we're charged with the company that we keep. We're charged with the company that we keep. So this challenge to know what we're thinking and to know perhaps the conditions, we may not know all of the conditions, but to know some of the conditionings of the highways and byways, the roads, courts, and avenues of our thought processes will help us to keep the traffic in our thought processes clear, to inaugurate new thinking and take out old thinking. Again, the disclaimer in this statement and what I'm sharing with you today is the fact that when you sit down and analyze to some degree, you can't analyze it all. Most of the analyzation would have to come out in the behavioral pattern that is exhibited from the thoughts that you have accepted. I need some help right there. But the point is, when we think about the collective trans-energetic thought pool, if you will, we have to accept that some of the thoughts that we think are not ours. I mean, if you're hanging around somebody, now many of you don't know, but I say this all the time. You know, I learned how to cuss in church. My parents did not cuss, and I didn't really have but one friend growing up that cussed every blue moon. But I learned how to cuss from church folks. That's right. I learned how to cuss from church folk. You know, so you can say it's a bad thing, good thing, whatever. You know, but I'm just, church folks are human too. My point is, that's an example how I was orientated, I was conditioned in an environment where there was no cussing. But once I was exposed to the trans-energetic or the collective experience of the human interactiveness wherever we go, wherever we are, the environments that we are exposed to now will, by default of the human experience, you don't have to point fingers, they will, by default, filter over into my conditioning, filter over into my environment, filter over into my thinking, filter over into my thinking. So that helps us when we begin to wonder, why am I thinking about this, that, and the other, when I was not initially conditioned and orientated to think in that vein? Because in the trans-energetic thought leadership, thought conditioning, thought interaction of the human experience, we pick up the energies, the thought vibes, the magnetic pulses of other human beings. And so this is why it's kind of important not to indict yourself and sentence yourself based on what's in your brain. Now, there are some that have mental illnesses and they're altering their electrons and all this kind of stuff with medicines, and then there are others who have some other things going on. And so we're talking about hovering around the norm. But even those who are on medication, and even those who are dealing with more deep struggles, could enhance themselves with these thoughts that I'm sharing with you today. So let's establish that the thought traffic that we have and that we have had is not all our traffic. I need to say that again. The thought traffic that we have had, or we are also having, is not all of our traffic. A case in point would be if you said today, I'm going to get a new job, or I'm going to set a goal. My income needs to be X, Y, and Z. Just using this as a lightweight example. And you began to plot goals and measurability factors toward that, you're going to experience an onslaught of thoughts from previous environments that you were saturated and conditioned in. I need some help. And so you're not fighting putting in the new thoughts just yourself. We have alleyways now. I need some help. Roundabouts, bypasses of thought processes and thought patterns that creep up on a brother and on a sister. You know, for those that are church-going folk, Paul said, you know, when I want to do right, then I simply don't understand how I'm going to do wrong. When I want to do right, I end up doing wrong. How can these things be? Because there is a trans-energetic, trans thought pattern crossover exposure that we all experience. And this is why some people sometimes become more judgmental, because they're fighting in their thoughts to be looked upon as the go-to person. There are others now that toot their own horns because they've been in environments and they've been, you know, I've been around some people, that's all they do is toot their own horn. They never encourage nobody else around them, and unless it's outside the realm of them, that person not knowing them. I don't know how I got off on that, but I'm just saying there is a disbursement of thought conclusions to people that we don't know intimately. I mean, don't know, not just sexually, but I'm talking about intimately in fellowship and daily interaction. And then there's another disbursement to people that that know us and that would challenge us. And so not only do we have things that are not, we're sophisticated in our thinking, is my point to you today. We're so sophisticated in our thinking, there is no way sometimes that you could even digest how sophisticated our thought processes really are, how patterns congruently come together and run concurrently and create events and possibilities just from thinking. But my point today is to show you that there's a lot of traffic in your head, and it behooves you and I to try to get a better sense of the condition of our mental roads. I need some help to get a condition. So that's what this series is about. So today we're talking, I want to encourage you, know your traffic. Know if you tend to take a loop, or, you know, roundabout, you tend to take alleyways, just know that. If you tend to take bypasses, know that. You know, I can admit, as I approach the microphone today, that I have personal and professional issues myself, and I tend to take bypasses sometimes. I don't want to deal with certain things in my head. You see what I'm saying? And that's good or bad, spiritual, natural. Just, you know, that's not for the right and wrong analyzation. That's just statements of fact that sometimes I take the bypass way. Some people like the street view of thinking. They want to have their hand on every detail of the thought pattern and deny any reflection from the environment of which they sit in. I need some help. Instead, they want to deflect what they have digested in hopes to still look good. But listen, all of us have cross-associated thinking. We all have it. All of us have cross-associated thinking. All of us have what did I just say? All of us have it. We have cross-associated thought processes that allow us to experience a thinking or two of things we would not or should not. And so that's where this series on cross-associated thoughts came from. As I am trying to move through this season and prepare for the next season and learn from the past season, I am looking to find out how do I incorporate new, innovative, creative, balanced, modest. Oh my goodness, it's so difficult. It is so challenging. It's easy to sit, and as I said on the last show, it's easy sometimes for us to sit and for us to digest new information. But many of us don't know the condition of our roads in our minds. We don't know what type of traffic. Do you have light traffic? Do you have medium traffic in your mindset? Do you have heavy traffic? Because heavy traffic is going to slow you down. I need some help. We talked about that in the last show, about resting to inaugurate through the shock and awe strategy a subconscious healing, and that may be considered a bypass, to go around my analytical thinking. I need some help. You should tweet me right there. Resting, right, to inactivate or inaugurate the subconscious pool of thinking. In other words, I can't get into it right now, but let me just say it like this. When I was in college, I would tape the professors' lectures, because they were so boring. Many of you know in college, so many they have a lot of group things now, make it more exciting, keep you awake and all that. But back in the old days, it's just stand there and lecture for 3 hours, 4 hours, and I used to have a recorder. And so what I would do is when I would go back home, and while I'm cleaning, while I'm washing, while I'm cooking, whatever it is that I'm doing, even while I was driving, I'm playing the recorder. But yet I'm hearing it, but yet I'm doing other things and attending to other things. But as I played it back, the intention was that I would hear it on autopilot unintentionally, intentionally. I need some help. Then I would go as far as to sometimes even put it under my pillow and play it very softly so that I could be able to absorb unintentionally, but yet intentionally, the professor's lecture. And if you had 12 credits and you got 4 professors lecturing at 3 to 4 hours apiece, after a while, how are you going to get all of that? So writing is also another way of finding your thought traffic. Is it light, moderate, heavy? Writing things down and getting things out on paper. You see people with spoken word abilities, and spoken word is another way to arrange and to package and to distribute and to divide and to So today I just want to give you a little bit more light on thought traffic, because in the end, what we're going to be facing is the association. We congruently think more than we realize. And what we want to avoid is cross-contaminated thoughts. And it takes some level of skill. I don't even know what level of skill it takes, but it takes some level of skill to be able to say to yourself, mentally speaking, this does not belong with that, nor does that belong with this. I am supposed to be creating a new me every chance I get. Yes, I enjoy the core of who I am, but I am looking to expand beyond even what I know, and if necessary, pollinate my future with new thinking. To pollinate my future with new thinking. And I can't pollinate what is not rooted. I've got to know what's on the highways of my mind. I want to encourage you today. Find out what's on the highways of your mind. Find out what's associated in your thought processes, in the journey of your mind. Watch out for contaminated thoughts. I'll have so much more for you as this series continues. Listen, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. All of you that are following me on Twitter, subscribing on Facebook even, and on YouTube. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Until next time, whatever you do, learn from the lessons of failure to ensure greater success. This is the Coach.